Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our AKAM webinar with Clive Daniel Hospitality and Clive Daniel Home, focusing on achieving a timeless design. We have with us today Lisbeth Linert. She's the Director of Business Development. Lisbeth is a licensed Florida interior designer who works as a business development manager for Clive Daniel Home. She builds and maintains relationships with builders, realtors, and community managers to present Clive Daniel Home as the solution to their clients' needs. Along with Lisbeth, we have Nancy Woodhouse, who is the VP of Hospitality. She supervises all condo projects, and Nancy provides exceptional design expertise and leadership to the Clive Daniel Hospitality team, who has worked with some of the most respected hotel brands in multifamily residential buildings in Florida, the Caribbean, and Canada. She can visit tired, outdated properties and envision a carefully crafted renovation program that will enhance residents' experience and revitalize the space to their optimum potential. And last but not least, we have Carrie Poulot, Senior Design and Sales Manager. Carrie is a professionally educated and trained interior designer with 20 years of experience in the residential and commercial interior design industry. She oversees the design department and construction process of many of the Clive Daniel projects. And just a little background on Clive Daniel Hospitality and Clive Daniel Home is an award-winning full-service interior design firm headquartered in Naples, Florida. They have locations in Boca Raton and very exciting, in addition to Naples, soon Sarasota. They're known for their exceptional designs and high-end aesthetic in both residential and hospitality designs. They pride themselves with taking on thought-provoking interior design projects that challenge them creatively and make them go the extra mile. With that, Lisbeth, I'll turn it over to you and educate us on Clive Daniel and achieving a timeless design.
Thank you so much, Judy, and thank AKAM for allowing us to be here to present to your residents and your property managers. We are here to discuss how to achieve a timeless design, and all three of us, myself, Lisbeth, and Carrie Pouliot and Nancy Woodhouse will be presenting with you. And I'm going to turn this over to Carrie to give a moment to talk a little bit of how she interacts with our clients. And then Nancy will do the same, and we'll go ahead and get our presentation started. Carrie?
Hi, everybody. I wish I could see you all in person, but like I'm seeing a screen right now. But I work out of our Boca Raton Clive Daniel facility. We're a 70,000 square foot showroom here in Boca Raton, and we have 27 interior designers on staff, including Lisbeth in this location and myself. And we have done a lot out of this building as far as commercial and residential interior design. But we welcome all of you to come through and visit us on this coast. But Clive Daniel is a retail showroom for furnishings and accessories and all kinds of things, that anything interior design really. But also we offer full interior design services. So for any of your residents, for the buildings, we go closer and turn most of that over to the hospitality department on the larger projects, which Nancy will speak about in a few minutes. But we do welcome you all into our showroom at any time you want to come visit us. Please come by. We'd love to give you a tour of the showroom, but we can help all of you with any interior design services that you need.
Thanks, Carrie. Nancy?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm very excited about this meeting today. I launched this hospitality division for Clive Daniel Home back in 2011, and we have been just zooming ever since. And I watch over the Boca showroom and the Naples showroom and soon to be Sarasota showroom for the hospitality commercial side. What makes us unique and valuable to people like you is we have a great design firm with qualified designers for our residents, but then we have this division of hospitality, which specializes in only hospitality and commercial projects. And it's wonderful to say that, yes, once we're finished with projects, clients come to, will you come to my home? Absolutely. But I turn it over to people like Carrie and the design team from the showroom. Our team only touches commercial projects like clubhouses, high rises, banks, offices, resorts, timeshare, pretty much anything in a common area that you experience every day. Our main goal is always to bring the vision, the function from properties like yourself to life, but acknowledging guest experiences, owners' experiences, and we have the value of having the support of the Clive Daniel Home and the power behind that with our own buyers, with our own warehousing. So it makes us a very strong brand within this industry. We have great talented designers and many award-winning projects, both residential and commercial. But I am excited to get started with this, so let's get going.
Thanks, Nancy. So we'll be talking today about achieving a timeless design, and I want to talk about the essentials of a timeless design and what that entails, the lifestyle through design, and we'll speak a little bit more of how lifestyle has a lot to do with achieving a timeless design, how to add value to your investment, and that's what everybody wants. When you go into a building and you buy a unit, you want to make sure that that investment is going to be good, and it's going to, and you want to be able to add value, and you do that through the common spaces within the building. And you want to design for experiences. People, as you live your life, your home, you have memories, right? And those experiences that you have at home is what those memories are formed from. And so that building can enhance that, and we want to design for that. And lastly, we're going to give you a couple things that you want to consider when going into a design or renovation project for a condo building. There are so many different things that affect all of the points that we'll be making, but we're going to really concentrate on the interior design aspect of that and how interior design is going to help to achieve timelessness. So the essentials of a timeless design. You can note from this slide that aesthetics, I have it last, and I have it last for a reason, because really you want to start with lifestyle. And there's several different factors that are going to come into play here. But when considering lifestyle, you want to think about the residents and who's living in your building and what type of design is going to support the lifestyle of the residents. In order for the design to remain timeless, you're going to want to provide value to those residents. So you're going to hear the word value a lot and the word lifestyle a lot throughout this presentation, because that's really what we're designing for in order for it to stay and remain timeless. Next is value. And we'll be talking again a lot about value to the residents, what is valuable to them, and also value in the sense of cost. It's not just what you pay, but it's what you get for what you pay. Amenities are something that buildings are finding that they absolutely need in order to attract new residents. And we're going to be talking about different ways to add amenities into your building and making sure you have the right amenities in your building. Function, it's not just about the way it looks, but it's about how it works. One of my favorite quotes, and we're going to be talking about how does your building work? Is the building working for your residents? How does it work maintenance wise, right? And that goes back to value. So you'll see that all of these terms that we've listed here as far as essentials of a timeless design, they all work hand in hand. And lastly, aesthetics. And that's usually what people think about when they think about interior design. Oh, it looks nice, it's beautiful, and everything that we do looks beautiful. We are designers after all, but we take all these things into consideration when doing a design to make sure that it fits within the lifestyle of residents, that you are adding value to your investments, that you're enhancing the amenities within a building, and that the building and the everything in it works well and functions well. And lastly, it's all got to be put together in a way that looks good. I would love, Carrie, Nancy, do you have anything to add here?
No, I think you brought all those attributes together, and yes, they're essential. And what I love about the subject matter today is timeless design, getting people's perspective of what that really means. So I think you captured what we're going to actually break down. So no, it's a great start.
So I'm going to start with a quote. It's not about the money, it's about the lifestyle. And when thinking about purchasing a unit within a building, whether you are a board member or a resident listening to this presentation, when you bought your unit, maybe you just liked the unit, maybe it was, a good price, but maybe it had to do with the location, maybe it had to do with the amenities. And you want to think about who is the majority of the people in your building, or maybe it's a blend. There's several different types of lifestyles to really consider. So I know AKAM has a lot of buildings on the water. Maybe the lifestyle is coastal. Maybe it's wellness. What's the age groups and demographics of the individuals within the building? Is it young professionals? Is it families? Is it retirees? Is it snowbirds? And all of these things are things you want to consider, because that all those demographics identify a type of lifestyle, and that lifestyle is going to tell you what you need in that building to keep those residents happy. So a building that supports the lifestyle of its residents will add value for the owners and help to establish a brand, and also that others associate with that property. So you might say, oh, that's such and such building. Oh, they're on the beach. That's such a relaxing environment. I come to Florida every winter to relax. That's the type of building I want to be in. And you can see that association there. And so you want the design to reflect the environment that you want to have.
And that it plays a huge role in retention. So when you're looking to keep people in the building that are already loving what they have, but it's time to improve, what do you want to do that is going to keep those residents happy and staying in the building and not wanting to leave? So that's another aspect of this whole concept.
Right, and it definitely directs us on amenities. What is the importance and where we invest dollars for the amenities. And sometimes, to be honest, it's acknowledging we need to change the vibe in our building and our lifestyle. We realize we actually have more to offer. We want more to offer to attract more toward the building or the club. So a lifestyle identification of where you are and where you want to be, or who you want to attract, is very important. And we'll break that down more as we go through.
Right now, millennials are the #1 generation of home buyers. And there has been lots of research. You can even just Google it, because it's so popular right now. Everybody's trying to figure out millennials, what are their buying habits. And one thing that keeps coming up over and over and over again is that millennials make decisions based off of lifestyle. It's how they choose a job. They'll be willing to take a job that pays less if that employer allows them to have a lifestyle that they want. Can I work from home? Can I go home early on Fridays? Okay, that's what's important to me. And they're making those same decisions when they're purchasing property. Is it close to the schools I need to take my kids to? Is it close to my job? Can I, walk to work? Can I, use public transportation? Is it close to the beach? Is it close to my gym? These are all lifestyle decisions. And so I put the slide in here just to point out how important lifestyle is, because as more and more people in the millennial generation are looking for a home, and like I said, they're between ages 27 and 40, so they're the #1 home buyers right now. They're looking at homes that are going to fit into their lifestyle. And so you want to think about, do your buildings have the kind of lifestyle that are going to attract these home buyers? And it's not just about location anymore. They're looking at what else does it come with, right? So I wanted to show a little bit about how does a lifestyle fit into design? And you might recognize some of the photos from the previous slide where I had different collage of lifestyles, and I just pulled two out, and you can see that one might fit within one lifestyle a little bit more than the other. And this is actually a real mood board that was done for a property that was trying to kind of figure out their lifestyle. And you can tell that one seems a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more calming, a little bit more coastal, where one is a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more luxurious. So when starting a project, that's the first thing you really want to do is assess the lifestyle of the residents in the building.
Yeah, it's very important. This also helps when we're looking for color direction. And a lot of times properties will say, well, we look to you for this. We look to you for this information, because they're not able to verbalize, especially 200, 300 residents. So they're looking for the designer, someone to give them the expert decision. So what we try to do is provide these tools that help identify what's best and what they like and what they don't like. And then we come up with a design package and work all that together with everything.
And I've seen Nancy use this also, where she's trying to decide, do you want color? Do you want neutrals? And it's a good way to visually show that to a large group of people and get kind of a taste for the residents. Do they want color in the environment, or are they happier with a neutral palette? And this slide, I think, Lisbeth, is great because it really shows that. It gives you that feeling of, the blues give us a little bit of color and add a little bit to it, where on the other side, it's more elegant neutral. It's great.
That's very good, Carrie, because a lot of people, when they think timeless design, they think it has to be all neutral, and it doesn't.
Exactly.
So with just wrapping up the idea of lifestyle, you want to consider the demographics of the residents in your building, and think about, is your building largely families, retirees, who's in your building, what their lifestyle is, assess all of that, and really use that as a foundation of what you need to have. Right. And this is really going to lead to an overall sense of happiness among the residents, because they feel like their building is a part of home. So we'll be talking about price is not what you pay, value is what you get. So price is what you pay, value is what you get. And this is a quote from Warren Buffett. I love this quote because it is everything that has to do with design, right? I like to use the analogy of a car. How much does a car cost? Well, what kind of car do you want, right? That's the next question. So we'll be talking about value. With different types of lifestyles, you want to think about spaces that are going to support that. So if you have a lifestyle that is social, you're going to need a room or a space that's going to be good for congregation, that will accommodate daytime activities or even social meetings, evening activities. Depending on the demographics of your building, these spaces may be more casual or more formal. And I would love for Nancy to share a little bit more about this space. This was something that our hospitality department did.
Yes, and this is a great view of a space that's right off a main lobby, and initially was underused. In fact, people didn't understand what to use it for, and it was a very dark space. It a lot of times became the place where they stored things, but they realized that we have a growing demand for gatherings, a lot of social events, but they didn't really utilize all their space. So we took this space here, and again, it's right off the main lobby, and you really see this. But we added a feature, which I think is important. Features are nice because you can keep the existing backgrounds, which we did here, and we added this quartz lit piece that really drew you into the room. Plus, it also brightened the room. And then we add the swivel chairs for gathering, the TV. We kept the wall unit, actually. We just darkened it. It happened to be a really orange cherry that they would want it to continue with. So we darkened it and really brightened it up with the walls, changed the lighting, changed out the cans, so everything was brighter. But immediately, right from the lobby, we actually mirrored the same courts over on that side. So your eye literally did see both spaces, and they came together and people naturally engaged over here. And it became a quick wait for your friend, wait for somebody, or gather real quick with other homeowners, sometimes a meeting space. Surprisingly, a lot of people just came down to this lobby space and would meet with someone. So it became a nice meeting room, but it also became a place for a hangout, for a Friday night social. So it was actually really nice.
And the nice thing about having gathering spaces within a condo building is that you form a sense of community. And that's one big thing that makes people feel like a place is home, right? Do you know your neighbors? Are you able to, get to know who else is there? And having a space where that allows for social gatherings is really important in order to have that. Fitness and wellness areas. This is a fitness area that Nancy's team worked on. And this is an area where you would, again, assess what is valuable to your residents. A space that if your residents highly value fitness and wellness, maybe you need more room for a fitness area. Maybe it's moderately valued, maybe it doesn't need to be as large as another building, or maybe it doesn't all need to be one space. You can maybe have one area that has some type of gym equipment or cardio equipment, and have another area that is more meditative. Maybe you can have an instructor come in once a month and teach a class within the building. So when you think about wellness and fitness areas, you can think about, you don't have to think about it as a single space. It could be multiple spaces of varying sizes, depending on how your residents value that specific lifestyle attribute. And I know that Nancy's team, was this a Naples project, Nancy, that you worked on?
Yes, and it won several awards too. And I think what happens is having that conversation about a lot of buildings and properties have fitness areas. But what does it mean to them? And what we actually did is took the old fitness and converted it into another common space because it was so small and so dark. And we added this space because it was a growing demand for fitness. And this was prior to COVID. And guess what? It came out very popular during last year, and it continues to be that fitness is a growing amenity amongst every property, whether it's a clubhouse or a high rise. They're very popular. We ended up adding some spa treatment rooms. So, but I do find that what happens in buildings is the fitness becomes a dark place, and a lot of times it's not updated with other parts of the building, so there's smells to it. So this is a nice opportunity to always look at changing out the flooring with new materials that really give you style and design, and not that rubber old dark flooring. You can actually add a little pizzazz to it and impact, and it's more engaging. We call this the wellness and fitness, but it's also another area for socialization because people are able to socialize here but get a good workout, hopefully. I wouldn't know that, but that's the rumor.
Relaxed spaces. And I know AKAM has a lot of properties that are waterfront. And so I think these spaces are very, very important not to overlook. And some people might think, oh, well, you're an interior design firm. Why are you talking about outdoor spaces? But it all has to do with the design of the building. And it's all parts of the building that we do help our clients achieve a good design. And I think this space was another one that Nancy's team transformed, but did a lot of value engineering with, right?
Yes, this actually came about, it was a project that was in progress. Then Irma came along. So hurricanes do play into this. And it allowed us to approach more areas and then also be conscious of, well, if we're touching this area, let's go ahead and bring it a new scale, a new elevated look. So what happened here, we had to address the awnings over the cabana areas, the pavilions there. But what we ended up doing was dressing out the columns on either side so they didn't have that kind of old Tuscany look to them. We straightened them out, added lighting, went to the upper deck, you can't see it here, and did the same revitalizing of the structure pieces and correcting everything from Irma, all new pavers. So there was quite a bit of cost into it. But when it came down to the furniture, then it was like, okay, what are we going to do with the furniture? Because it wasn't in the mix. We were able to have everything repainted from a marine painter. So it's marine grade, and it looks brand new because it was in good quality. It just needed a facelift, so to speak. The property then was able to continue that elevated look by providing that nice resort style pad seat, which you don't find a lot in high rises, but it really changed the conversation, the look of this space. So it was a smart approach.
And I love how you were able to tie in the furniture with the shelters as well, and it brings it all together.
Right, and as you can tell, a high rise, everybody looks down at this space. So to have that striking color and those striking elements to be able to see in the evening skyline it was a great added plus to their building.
Very resort style feeling. I love it.
Very resort, yeah.
And I think a lot of people are looking for that, especially with your part-time and seasonal residents. When they come to Florida for season, they are expecting that resort feeling, right? And I think when you have these buildings on the beach, they're looking for the amenities. They're looking for, a little bit more. They want a home that feels a little bit like a hotel, right? And I think that leads right into our next lifestyle, which is luxury. And Nancy can definitely tell us a little bit more about this, but and how that she made this update. But what I would want to point out is when doing a high-end luxury design, you really want to not let go of the final touches, right? The accessories, the artwork. You need to keep all of your elements throughout that high-end look. And so Nancy, can you tell us a little bit about what you did to this space? I know it was very, very traditional and hadn't been updated before you touched it, right?
Yes, and I love this photograph because if you follow Clive Daniel at all, this is one of we use for our advertising, because the room that we renovated here used to be very heavy golds and burgundies and red, very Tuscan. So you'll see some of our ads that say de-Tuscanizing, and this is one of the images because it had all those layers. But a lot of those areas have great architectural details. We did not change a thing in the walls as far as architecturally. What we ended up doing is recolor palette. We changed the vibe of it by just changing the colors and enhancing some of the architectural in a different way that brought it up to today's level. It definitely speaks to the luxury. I do want to point out again, all hospitality, all the furnishings is hospitality. A lot of things resemble the residential side of furnishings, but on hospitality contract side, they're either constructed a little more reinforced, cushioning is reinforced, fabrics are Krypton or things that are very well maintained and easily cleaned. But Carrie also had a lot of influence with this client, and she can even tell you some of the before and the transformation this made. But a lot of questions that come to Carrie and I isn't gray out of style? Now this gives you a great opportunity to see the layering in of metallics and different textures that allow it to be more timeless instead of just having gray. It's accentuated in small areas, and then a lot of it is in a shimmer or a flow finishing that allows it to be more elevated. And Nancy, Carrie, tell us some of your perspective.
Nancy, I love that you pointed out that even though some of the furniture may look residential, that it is all commercial grade. You know, there's a term that we use, we say resi-mercial, right? It looks residential, but it's really commercial. And I think that's the look that everybody is really going towards right now. People want that cushioning, that softness of being at home, but you don't want things that are going to fall apart. And residential furniture, even high quality residential furniture, they're not made for, you know, hundreds of people to sit on. And that's really what happens with a commercial environment. You have a lot more people sitting on them. You have a lot more wear and tear. And so you do need a higher quality product in these commercial areas. And, you know, I think that's great that you pointed that out.
Interesting you said that, because for years I would say, I don't understand why everybody doesn't do their home with commercial fabrics, because who doesn't want to keep it cleaner and easier maintained? Today, the industry now offers Krypton Home. They offer these performance fabrics in the residential line now. Somebody was listening to me. I'm sure it was all from me.
And actually, we do a lot of this now in the showroom. Most of our residential design clients, especially in their family room or living where you're gathering most of the time or entertaining.
Children,
we
pets.
do children, pets. We all have children and pets these days. If you don't have kids, you have a dog or a cat. So we do incorporate all of those different materials so that they're easily cleanable. But I do want to point out, Nancy and I worked on this together. It was a while ago. And this bar, a few years back, this bar in the back, I want everybody to see the layering in this space, because that was really important. When you walk into the space, from the left is kind of where you enter into this space, and there's windows all along the back. But to the left, we wanted to draw you in there. So by doing the layering of having it more white and bright and open, and then the bar back there was that old orangey colored wood. It was very, very old fashioned.
A moment
very Tuscan.
in time.
Yeah, moment in time. And it was beautiful in the
time
time that it was done. It sure was. It was done beautifully. But back there, how are we going to bring you back there? And so giving it a new fresh paint color and a beautiful new countertop bar top, because it was all just a wood countertop before.
Now it's quartz.
And we gave it a beautiful quartz with the speckle, beautiful shine in it. And when you walk into the space, it kind of coordinates with all the lighting fixtures, and it drew you back there as well. So when you want to use this space for, you know, a building having a party or an entertaining event, an entertainment event, it was easy to bring people down and direct them where they needed to go for what. So the space was really planned out for a lot of different purposes, and I think it turned out beautiful.
And this is on that coast. It's the Meridian, so we invite
The
you
Meridian,
to go look at it.
So next lifestyle, young professionals. And even spaces where you have families, you want to think about having activity rooms, game rooms. Again, you want to, I like this space because there's different stations. There's like a gaming area over here, TV on the wall where you can just do video games. You have pool table, shuffleboard, card table. And I find that some of the buildings that have card rooms, which is kind of outdated and aren't being used anymore, this is a really good way to repurpose that room. You can still, you know, have your card table like that's over here. However, you have different areas that might be more attractive to a younger resident as well. So definitely think about who's in your building and how they might be using the space.
And Lisbeth, this really points to limited space. Some of the buildings do have limited space, and they're trying to put a lot into it. Now, you can tell a lot was put into this space. You can literally have a game night. You can literally have a family dinner. You can have a family meeting or a meeting. You can have a movie. So it really captured those highlights that people wanted to in a very limited space. So I think that's a bonus to something like this visual.
And I'm going into our next essential, which is amenities. And I like this quote because what it's saying is that man now enjoys amenities which in ages gone by were unknown and therefore inaccessible even to the richest people. And right now, I think everybody is used to amenities. What else does it come with, right? And so, you know, we have delivery dudes for our food, and we have Instacart for our groceries, and we're used to being able to have everything we need, you know, at the tip of our finger. And so you really need to think about what amenities your building might have and might be offering. And that doesn't mean that you need to completely redo everything all at once. Sometimes you might be underutilizing a space, or there might be a space that's not being utilized for anything that you can you know, create an amenity. So we're going to go through a couple ideas. I love this one because this was just a little niche at the end of a hallway. It wasn't really being used for anything. And then it's now a dog wash area. So if you have a building that doesn't allow pets, this is not going to hold any value for your residents. But if you do have pets, you have a weird niche that's not being used for something. This is all in one area. All you have to do is have your water and power hookups, and now you have a dog wash area. You've now added an amenity for your residents and added more value to the individual unit's property. I love this space. This is one of Nancy's designs as well. This is a theater, and maybe you might not have the square footage within your building to dedicate solely for a purpose of having a theater, but maybe you can have a space where it's multi-purpose, where, you know, an area you can have a small theater where a couple residents can get together and watch something, and then maybe that space can be transformed and used for something else at a different time. And so I think when thinking about creating experiences, you don't necessarily need to have a dedicated space for a single purpose. Certain spaces can be used for multiple purposes.
What I love about this, Lisbeth, is the change out. Now, this happened to be an existing building. We did touch every aspect of their building. So their guest suites, their lobby, their concierge desk, their theater room, their social room, their card room, their fitness room. We touched every part of their building. And a lot of buildings have the sofa, a couple chairs, but people love those reclining chairs that make them feel more of the experience of the theater. So this change out into a more modern flooring with those reclining chairs really added a different level to the experience. But we kept all the architectural details. We just enhanced them and added new lighting in there. And it really changed the vibe of the space, but it's still a theater room.
I love it. And
oh, sorry, Lisbeth. That's another very valid point, because a lot of times when you're renovating existing spaces, as we know, we have a lot of board members watching today, budget is an issue, and they usually have a set budget for certain areas and certain things. And Nancy, you working alongside you in a few different things, I've seen you create scientific madness with budgets and how can we make it look like a whole new innovative space and still, you know, do it with the same budget that you guys are willing to put forth and invest in the project. And I think that's a talent in itself that I know our hospitality team is amazing at.
Well, it's kind of like when you purchase a home too, when you do your own residence, you want the most value for what you're spending. So for a property to look at, they're spending and they're investing a lot. They want to get the most out of it. So you want to change the things that you can change and give a little bit of facelift or a facelift to that connects synergy between the entire building. So everything feels like it's been touched and changed a little, but sometimes you have to leave the backgrounds and you just update the pieces.
Yeah.
I love a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah,
another one.
I mean, and this didn't take a lot of room to really do. This is a virtual area. You can see over here that you can do, there's a hockey stick, there's golf clubs, you could do virtual golf, virtual hockey, virtual soccer. And this just, again, it's an uncommon space that's becoming more common that allows your residents to have an activity within the building. And you're now adding an amenity. It's, again, maybe it's a part of a game room or something like that, where you're just adding a little bit more of an amenity.
This happened to be a part of their fitness room, gym. They had a spa, they had a fitness area, but then they had lockers. And you mentioned amenities. A lot of times people look at their amenities and say, we're not even using the lockers. Everybody goes back to the residents that they're not using them. So we pulled them out, and the property chose to go with Top Golf. And talk about a catch for their marketing and their guests and people that are coming to this high rise are people coming from the north and other areas that expect these type of level of amenities. So they love the idea they can say, oh, we have Top Golf.
And I think the important thing to note here is that if your building doesn't have these amenities, someone's going to buy into a property that does. And so how are you attracting new residents? One of my favorite quotes, I kind of mentioned it when we started, but design is not just what it looks like and feels, design is how it works. And I love this quote because first thing that popped into mind was this famous building that I'm sure you all know, the Sydney Opera House. The architecture is world renowned. It's beautiful, but it didn't work because it had the worst acoustics of any opera hall in the world. And a couple of years ago, it went under a $202 million renovation to update the acoustics. So if you're going to spend money to renovate, you want to really think about, does it work, right? You don't want it to just be beautiful with bad acoustics.
Make sure yeah, the function works.
Yeah. So these are some of the things that you really want to consider is how usable are the spaces within the building? Are they being utilized? And how are they being utilized? Are they being utilized for their intended purpose? Maybe you have a space that was intended for one thing, it started being used for something else. Maybe you should enhance the new use that it's found versus keeping it the way that it was. Scale and proportion. How are the rooms and spaces that you have within the building correctly sized for their use? One thing that I've noticed a lot is some of these fitness rooms are way too small for the amount of residents in the building and for the amount of people using them. And because of that reason, it doesn't get used. So you also want to think about proportion. So what type of furniture and furnishings are you putting in within the space, and is it the right scale? Is it too big or is it too small for the square footage that you're putting it in? Adjacency, again, very important. Both Nancy and Carrie know the story about a building. It was up here in Boca, where you would go through the front doors and enter the lobby. And on one side, they had their meeting area, their meeting space. And on the other side was a gym. And through the gym was the kitchen. So anytime they had a social gathering within the building, the caterer had to go from the kitchen through the fitness area with the food across the lobby in order to get into that meeting space. It didn't work. The adjacency was really off. And so they really wanted to re-space plan everything in order to put the kitchen next to that meeting space. And you really don't want your catered food going through the fitness area. Cohesiveness. Do the spaces flow? Do they work well together? Are you going from the lobby into that meeting space in a cohesive manner? Do the finishes and the furniture that you've selected fit the building, right? If the whole building is very, very traditional, and then you just pick a couple modern pieces of furniture, it might not look quite right. So you really want to think about that. Trends. I think I hear this all the time, and I'm sure Nancy and Carrie, you hear it too. What are the design trends? That's what I want to do. Well, trends go in and out, right? They come and go just like fashion. And if you design a building on a trend, then 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road, it's out and you're spending money again to update it again. So we really wanted to talk about timeless design right now to really say that the trends may not be what you want to follow. You want to think about timelessness. And if you have a couple trends you want to incorporate them on an area that can be easily changed out, something that would that wouldn't be a large undertaking to freshen. And then the other trend you want to look at is what's the trend in real estate in general. The trend right now is millennials. Millennials are the #1 group of home buyers. And so really understanding that trend is going to make sure that your building stays fresh for the new home buyers that are in the market. Also, we talked about some of these amenities and what's trending in amenities. And those are probably where the type of trends you want to incorporate into your building rather than decorative and aesthetic trends. Think about functional trends and usability trends. Those are the trends that you want to be looking at. And then maintenance and longevity. When you have a high-rise building, you have your maintenance workers and property managers that are listening. I'm sure you know exactly the amount of effort that it takes to maintain things that are either old or outdated. You also want to think about the materials that you select and the finishes. What's the maintenance of, certain types of flooring? Do you want to do real stone or do you want to go with a porcelain? Because the porcelain is going to have a lower maintenance cost. You want to always add and consider those maintenance costs to the materials that you're selecting. And I'm sure the property managers would appreciate board members that take that into consideration. So I think this is our last quote: styles come and go, but good design is a language. It's not a style. And we're going to go through a couple design and elements and principles. And first one, color. Everybody, what's the hot color right now, right? But I love this picture because it shows the way that color was brought into the space, but it still feels neutral. And I think that when you're going to incorporate color, you're going to want to do it on your smaller pieces, your window treatments, your pillows, your throws. Notice that the larger pieces of furniture are still neutral, right? Those are going to be your more expensive pieces, the ones that are going to cost a little bit more if you need to reupholster them.
Right, and what I happen to like about it, because I know this particular space, is taking things that become today what people would think is an eyesore, which happen to be those big columns in the rooms that we couldn't get rid of. How do you make them a part of the design? Taking something structural and turning it into a feature. And as you can see, both at the bar and at the living room aspect of the space, both columns became a part of the feature and they were no longer eyesores.
I think the other important thing in a space like that is lighting. You have lighting for certain purposes, so where you're sitting in the room, but I find that in a lot of, and Nancy will attest to this, in a lot of these buildings that we go into that need updating, the lighting is a main issue usually in every space. I find that a lot of the spaces for some reason are very dark, and maybe it was to that older trend of the Tuscan look, that the lighting does not give you a bright space where people feel comfortable going and gathering into. So I think lighting is also another really good, important thing you must update.
And I think Carrie just hit on that, which led us right into our next slide about lighting. And you can see too, when you have lighting, you want to have layered lighting, right? You want to have ambient lighting, which is your general lighting, your accent lighting, your focal lighting. You have your natural lighting here and dressed up with your window treatments. I think this space, you can see that it has a nice versatile levels of lighting and different layers of it.
And also addressing those natural lights, even though you may want it more elegant in the drapery and the sheers, you can still add those solar screens to those windows that kind of disappear but complement, so that you do get to be able to still appreciate the views, but enjoy the room. Tall ceilings are sometimes a challenge too, so working with those layers.
This project is actually one of our residential projects, but I had to put it in here because this wall shows such a great example of texture and pattern on a wall. And I think that definitely when you come in, people want to have that sense of arrival. So your lobbies behind your security desk or whatever, it's a great place to add some texture and pattern. And you can do this in so many different ways. You can use stone, you can use wall coverings, you can use, MDF panels, you can use wood, but adding something to that effect really draws people into the building. And I think having that sense of arrival is just so important in a high-rise building.
Creates impact.
Furnishings. I love this photo. You can see that it's not just the furniture that makes it. You have all of your pillows, your tables, your area rugs. And Nancy, can you say a little bit more about this property? I believe this is one you worked on as well, right?
Yes, and this happens to be another extension of the property with the theater room. So you can actually kind of see the synergy between the areas. Another property that had some details that people didn't want anymore, like their flooring happened to be a very old world inlay. Got a custom rug to actually hide that effect. We actually didn't change the wall colors, but we painted out all the columns and the ceiling, and it felt like a brand new room. And I love the fact that one of the views, it's got a gorgeous view. It's a high rise, so the views are out to the water. But that fountain, it just draws you into that fountain and allows that movement. And I always love when we talk about properties, where's the Christmas tree go? Because we all put up the Christmas. Right there where that planter is, we made sure the design works for where the Christmas tree goes. So that's another important aspect of this particular room. But lighting was a big advantage here, adding the rope lighting in the tray, changing out everything to LED.
And I know we're running low on time, so I'm going to move through some of these other slides a little bit quickly and just kind of point on the important things. This slide was merely to say, don't forget about the final touches. They are so important. And I think it's something that a lot of buildings forget about, and then they, cheap out, they go to Home Goods or something, and it's the first thing you notice, right? It's like, wow, you did such a great job with this building, and what happened over here. So don't forget about the final touches. They are just as important. And we want to share a little bit about Clive Daniel and who we are and what we do. I believe Carrie mentioned this when we started. We are a full service interior design firm doing both residential and hospitality. We do have a residential showroom in Boca Raton, which you're welcome to come in anytime. We also have one in Naples and are soon to be one opening in Sarasota. We do full purchasing and procurement, meaning that we are a one-stop shop, unlike some design firms where you might have to pay for the design and then go somewhere else and get the specified product. We can do it all for you in-house. We have project visualization, meaning that we'll do renderings, your floor plans, your construction documents, really everything you need to get started. And what you really want to start with is an occupancy evaluation. And it's something that we can help with your property managers with putting that together, making sure you're asking your residents the right questions. Sometimes when I ask properties that are undergoing a renovation, what are you looking, have you considered putting out a survey? And they'll say, oh yeah, we did that. We asked them if they like green, gray or beige. And these are really not the questions you want to be asking your residents. It should be more of, what do they value? What is your lifestyle? Really, what we just talked about in this entire presentation, these are the topics that you really want to be starting with when you do an occupancy evaluation. There's a lot of different things that come into play when doing a project, and you really want to get the designer involved early, right? We are just one piece of the puzzle. However, you still need an architect, you need your GCs. There's a lot of things that go into play, and it's something that we can help guide you with. So don't hesitate. We have a full staff here in our Boca office and another very large staff of designers in our Naples office. And so we are able to work with you and help guide you through the entire process, whatever you might need.
Fantastic.
Yay.
Lisbeth, thank you so much. Carrie, Nancy. Now we're going to open this up for questions. because I'm sure based on the presentation, a lot of the people that tuned in certainly have a lot, and we actually have one already asking, has gray seen its day? What is a timeless wall paint color?
I'll take it real quick. Timeless.
Okay.
Gray has seen its day. It's seen its day several years ago, but we're still working through that color. However, again, there are many variations of gray. So we have found that you can use things like agreeable gray that has that beige undertone that kind of works timelessly. It's easy to bring that paint color into a more neutral palette and then accentuate with art, or like Lisbeth said, some accented wall, whether it be marble or stone or a MDF or something that brings that impact. But yeah, gray has definitely seen its day. Will it go away tomorrow? No, it will take its time as it transfers into the more natural colors.
And any other questions, please type into the Q&A section or via chat. We'd certainly love to answer any questions you have. And if you think of anything later on, we'll certainly provide our contact information, and we can certainly get back to you with answers. I don't see any more questions coming in, but I'm sure many more will as people have time to process the presentation. So please don't hesitate to reach out to myself. I'm the Director of Business Development for AKAM, or Lisbeth, the Director of Business Development from Clive Daniel. You have our contact information. Please send any and all questions our way, and we'll certainly get back to you.
Thank you so much, Judy. I really appreciate being able to present to your board members and property managers, and we'll be happy to assist any of your properties go through any transformations that might be needed.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Thank you
all for having us.
Thanks so much, and thanks to everyone for attending. Have a wonderful afternoon.